Today we are diving deep into the world of vitamin D deficiency, but with a twist.
A twist.
Yeah, we're going way beyond your typical fatigue and back pain.
Oh, I see. So we are talking about the more unusual symptoms.
Precisely. The things you might be experiencing without even realizing vitamin D could be the root cause.
I think a lot of people will be surprised to hear this. It's really much more common than they realize.
Right. So first up on our list of unusual suspects is head sweating. We usually associate that with babies, right?
Yeah.
But what if you're an adult, not overexerting yourself, but still finding yourself sweating excessively from your head?
That's when you might want to consider vitamin D.
Could it really be that simple?
Well, the head does have more sweat glands than other parts of the body, and vitamin D is involved in regulating the autonomic nervous system.
Which controls sweating.
Exactly. So a deficiency can disrupt that balance, and you end up with, well, excessive perspiration, especially in the head region.
Interesting. So head sweating, definitely something to watch out for.
Right.
Now let's talk about night sweats. I know those can be linked to a lot of different conditions.
Right.
But how does vitamin D deficiency fit into the picture?
Well, you see, vitamin D is a powerful immune system modulator.
Modulator.
Yeah, it helps keep things in check. So when you're deficient, your immune system can become overactive,
Okay.
leading to heightened inflammation throughout the body. And this can trigger excessive sweating, especially at night, when your body temperature naturally fluctuates.
So it's almost like your body is trying to cool itself down.
Yeah, it's trying to cool itself down from this internal fire, if you will,
Yeah.
caused by the overactive immune response.
That makes sense. Now this next one really surprised me.
Oh, which one is that?
Mood swings. Could vitamin D really be the culprit behind those days when you feel like you're on an emotional roller coaster?
Absolutely. Vitamin D is crucial for regulating mood and emotions.
How so?
Well, it influences the production and function of key neurotransmitters, like serotonin and dopamine.
Those are essential for, well, everything.
Right, especially for maintaining emotional balance. And a deficiency can really throw things off, leading to those unpredictable and often frustrating emotional shifts.
I see. So it's more than just feeling down.
Yes, it's about those rapid shifts in mood, sometimes extreme, that can be very difficult to manage.
And speaking of things that are difficult to manage, what about procrastination and low motivation?
Oh, interesting.
Could vitamin D really be the culprit behind those days when you just can't seem to get anything done?
You might be surprised to hear this, but yes, motivation and reward are very closely tied to the nucleus accumbens, a specific area in the brain.
Yeah.
And this area is heavily influenced by, you guessed it, dopamine. So a deficiency could lead to decreased dopamine activity, making it harder to feel motivated, feel driven.
So your brain isn't getting the fuel it needs.
Exactly. The reward system isn't functioning properly.
Okay, starting to see a pattern here. Vitamin D impacts those essential neurotransmitters, the same ones that play a role in so many aspects of our well-being.
Exactly, both mental and emotional.
And this brings us to another serious issue, panic attacks. What's the connection between vitamin D deficiency and these often debilitating episodes?
Panic attacks are complex, but research suggests that vitamin D deficiency can increase vulnerability. It influences the activity of the amygdala, the brain region responsible for processing fear and anxiety.
Oh, interesting.
A deficiency can disrupt its function, making you more susceptible to those overwhelming feelings of panic.
Like your brain's alarm system is constantly on edge.
Precisely.
So we're seeing how vitamin D deficiency can impact both our physical and mental health in some pretty profound ways.
It really can.
Now let's move on to some physical symptoms that might surprise you. We often associate vitamin D with bone health, but what about those deep aching pains in the pelvis, lower back, hips, upper legs?
Interesting.
Is that just regular muscle soreness?
Well, while muscle soreness is common, persistent deep aching pain, especially if it feels like it's coming from inside the bone, that could be a sign of something called osteomalacia.
Osteomalacia.
Yeah. It occurs when bones become soft and weak due to severe vitamin D deficiency. It's essentially a calcium deficiency in the bones.
Because vitamin D is essential for calcium absorption.
Exactly.
That sounds incredibly painful.
It can be.
How common is it?
Severe cases are less common, but there's growing concern about subclinical osteomalacia.
Subclinical.
Yeah, where people experience milder symptoms and often go undiagnosed.
Oh, wow.
This highlights the importance of getting your vitamin D levels checked, even if you're not experiencing debilitating pain.
So we might just be seeing the tip of the iceberg when it comes to vitamin D deficiency and bone health. And this leads us to another symptom related to muscle function, Loss of muscle strength.
Loss of muscle strength. Okay.
You might notice this most prominently in your legs and shoulders, the muscles involved in generating power and strength.
Right, those are the workhorses.
Exactly.
Well, vitamin D is critical for muscle function because it ensures adequate calcium absorption, and calcium is essential for muscle contraction.
So when your body can't absorb enough calcium due to low vitamin D levels,
Your muscles become weaker, especially those involved in weight-bearing activities. You might find it harder to climb stairs or lift objects that were once easy to manage.
so it's not just about feeling tired, it's about a tangible decrease in strength and endurance.
Right.
This is definitely something I've experienced myself, especially when I haven't been diligent about my vitamin D intake.
It's a common complaint. And this muscle weakness can also manifest as a more general achiness or pain throughout your body.
Not sharp pain.
No, not like an injury.
Yeah.
More of a persistent, dull ache that can be hard to pinpoint.
That's interesting because I often feel this general achiness in my muscles. And it isn't necessarily tied to a specific workout or injury, more like an overall feeling of stiffness and discomfort.
That's definitely something to consider, especially if you're experiencing other symptoms of vitamin D deficiency. Now, let's talk about another common ailment that many of us experience, particularly those who spend long hours at a computer. Stiffness in the knees and fingers.
I was just thinking that. I spend hours at my desk each day, and I definitely notice stiffness in my fingers and knees, especially in the mornings.
It's not just about repetitive motion or poor posture. Vitamin D plays a crucial role in maintaining healthy cartilage and collagen.
The building blocks of our joints.
Exactly. When you're deficient, inflammation can increase, leading to joint stiffness, pain, and eventually more serious conditions like osteoarthritis.
So vitamin D is essential for the overall health and flexibility of our joints. It's not just about bone density.
Right, it's about the integrity of the entire musculoskeletal system.
Wow, this is truly a deep dive into the unexpected consequences of vitamin D deficiency.
And we're not done yet.
There's more.
Oh, yeah. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more fascinating insights into this often overlooked health issue. Let's move on to a condition that affects millions worldwide: chronic fatigue syndrome. Characterized by persistent and debilitating fatigue, it can really impact your quality of life.
Yeah, it sounds awful. I've heard of it, of course, but I never realized vitamin D could play a role.
It's definitely a complex condition with many factors involved.
But how does vitamin D fit into the picture?
Well, there are a couple of key mechanisms at play. First, remember those tiny energy factories within our cells, the mitochondria?
Yeah, those are important, like that.
Extremely. And vitamin D is essential for their production and function. A deficiency can really impair their activity.
Leading to.
Reduced energy production, that pervasive sense of fatigue. It's like your cells are running on fumes.
Wow. Okay, so that's one way. What's the second?
The second has to do with the immune system. Remember how we talked about vitamin D being an immune modulator?
Yeah, that helps keep things in check.
Right. So when you're deficient, your immune system is compromised, and that makes you more susceptible to, well, all sorts of things. But one thing in particular that's often implicated in chronic fatigue syndrome is viral reactivation.
Viral reactivation. As in, a virus you already had comes back.
Exactly. And one virus in particular, the Epstein-Barr virus, is often linked to chronic fatigue syndrome.
So vitamin D deficiency weakens the immune system, the virus reemerges, and boom, you're hit with fatigue.
That's a good way to put it. And to make matters worse, stress, which is a common trigger for viral reactivation, also depletes vitamin D levels.
That's a vicious cycle. So you're more stressed, which lowers your vitamin D, which makes you more susceptible to the virus, which makes you more fatigued, which stresses you out even more.
It's a downward spiral. And that's why managing stress through lifestyle changes like exercise, meditation, getting enough sleep, those are so important.
And all those things can actually help improve your vitamin D levels too.
Precisely. It's all connected. Now let's shift gears and talk about something I think a lot of people can relate to: mental sluggishness. We all have those days when our brain feels foggy, it's hard to focus, make decisions. Could this be linked to vitamin D?
I know I've definitely felt that way before, especially during the winter. Less sunlight, But I always just assumed it was stress or lack of sleep. Could it really be vitamin D?
It's certainly possible. Your brain relies heavily on vitamin D, especially the frontal lobe, the part responsible for things like planning, decision-making, working memory.
So if your vitamin D levels are low, your brain just can't function as efficiently.
That's the idea. It can't process information as smoothly, so you feel that mental sluggishness.
It really is amazing to think that something as simple as a vitamin can have such a big impact on our cognitive abilities.
It really is, and it just goes to show how important it is to make sure you're getting enough.
Yeah.
Now, here's a symptom that I think many people can relate to, and I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on this. Have you ever had that experience where you just can't seem to feel full after a meal?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've eaten a large meal. I should be satisfied, but I'm still hungry. It's so frustrating.
I know what you mean. And it turns out there's a connection here with vitamin D as well.
Really. Tell me more.
It all comes down to the interplay between vitamin D, leptin, and insulin sensitivity.
Okay, break that down for me.
Leptin is often called the satiety hormone. It signals to your brain that you're full and should stop eating.
Yeah.
And vitamin D actually supports leptin's function. So if you're deficient, those fullness signals aren't getting through as effectively.
Oh, so even though my stomach might be full, my brain doesn't register it.
Precisely. Plus, vitamin D also enhances insulin sensitivity. That means your cells can use glucose for energy more efficiently.
So when insulin sensitivity is impaired due to low vitamin D, you don't feel satisfied.
Exactly. Your cells aren't getting the fuel they need, so you still feel those cravings.
It's not just about how much you eat. It's about how your body uses that food.
And vitamin D is a key player in that process.
Wow, this really has been an eye-opening deep dive. It's amazing to me how much vitamin D impacts, well, everything.
It really is a fascinating nutrient, and I think we've just scratched the surface here.
Yeah, we've explored some unusual symptoms, and it's clear that vitamin D deficiency is, well, more widespread than most people realize.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's not just about strong bones. It's about your brain, immune system, muscles, your emotional well-being.
Exactly. It all ties back to vitamin D in some way.
It really does. And while we've covered a lot, I think the biggest takeaway is this. Vitamin D deficiency can manifest in so many ways. It can even mimic other conditions.
That's a good point. So how do you know if it's vitamin D,
Well, that's where seeing a healthcare professional comes in.
right? They can run tests, figure out what's going on.
Exactly. They can determine if vitamin D deficiency is a factor and recommend the best course of action.
Whether it's dietary changes, spending more time outdoors, maybe even supplements.
Right. But remember, prevention is always better than cure. So even if you're not experiencing symptoms, it's wise to make sure you're getting enough vitamin D.
Like incorporating those vitamin D-rich foods into your diet.
Exactly. Fatty fish, eggs, fortified dairy products, and of course, a little bit of sunshine.
Can't forget the sunshine. This deep dive has definitely inspired me to pay closer attention to my own vitamin D levels. It's such a simple thing, but it can make a world of difference.
I completely agree. Optimizing your vitamin D levels can truly have a ripple effect, influencing so many aspects of your health.
Absolutely. So if you're looking to boost your energy, improve your mood, support your immune system, enhance your overall well-being, maybe it's time to give vitamin D a closer look. And for those who want to delve deeper into the world of health and wellness, you can always check out the Health Facts channel. Tons of great information there. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay healthy.